Upon encountering Baron Trump, an individual experiencing homelessness, requiring a mere dollar, the unexpected then unfolded. A seemingly small gesture of compassion would ignite a nationwide phenomenon, mend a fractured family, and create lasting transformations. The city pulsed with unceasing energy. Vehicles blared their horns as people navigated the sidewalks amidst the bustling city streets. The atmosphere buzzed with a murmur of ongoing discussions. At the intersection of Broad Street and 17th Avenue, within the city limits of Cleveland, Ohio, an individual was seated. Leaned against the weathered exterior of a vintage convenience store, his garments showed signs of extensive use. Thin coverings that offered scant protection from the fierce winter gusts adjacent to him. A cardboard placard declared, "Every little bit counts. May divine favor be upon you." He went by the name Leonard, although the majority remained indifferent to the truth. Reaching the age of 42, for almost an entire year, his life had been spent outdoors. A run of bad luck depriving him of his most cherished possessions every day held an element of risk. On occasion, strangers would casually drop some change into his outstretched hand. However, they frequently rushed by, deliberately averting their gaze. Leonard tugged his beanie down, feeling a chill run through him. He observed a procession of diverse footwear styles moving past him. Elevated footwear, athletic shoes, well-maintained leather shoes, and from peripherous vision, he observed a notable alteration. An immaculate duo of the pristine white footwear came to a halt mere inches from his position. Their cost was substantial. They possessed a unique quality that could only be found in a select few. Only the genuinely youthful and affluent would don. Leonard's gaze lifted, his interest sparked. A young person, still in their teenage years, was present, statuesque and undeniably poised with his hands resting nonchalantly in the side pouches of a stylish coat. Leonard shielded his eyes from the glare of the sun. He identified the individual's visage, but its origin remained elusive. At first, the young boy lingered at the intersection, perusing his mobile device, totally oblivious to the notice he was garnering. Murmurs rippled through the crowd, others discreetly reaching for their mobile devices to surreptitiously capture images. Leonard paused, uncertain. He was inclined to initiate contact with others. Except for an initial exchange of glances, however, there was something in the boy's bearing that caught his attention. He moved at his own pace, unburdened by the urgency felt by others. A sense of hushed attentiveness permeated the atmosphere, a state of serenity which appeared incongruous within the city's bustling disorder. After inhaling deeply, Leonard began to speak. His voice rasped, chilled by the cold. "Greetings, young fellow." He insisted on a plastered grin. "Have you got a dollar you could lend me?" The scrolling boy abruptly stopped, his head inclining at a subtle angle. As though his ears had not deceived him, gradually he shifted his gaze to meet Leonard's. His face held no discernible emotion. Time appeared to stretch, the world around him losing its usual pace. Leonard steeled himself against the possibility of being turned down. He had grown accustomed to it. However, the subsequent events defied all expectations. "What's your intended use for it?" The young boy spoke, his voice steady despite his resolve. Leonard was taken aback by the question. It wasn't impolite, nor did it show a lack of consideration. However, it carried a certain heaviness, as though the boy were truly curious. Leonard felt a constricting sensation in his throat. He hadn't anticipated engaging in a discussion. He started to rub his hands, seeking to generate some heat. It would be delightful to have a cup of coffee. Perhaps a sandwich will be my treat if fortune smiles upon me. His words stumbled. The act of being interrogated felt deeply disquieting. However, the boy's voice lacked any hint of ill intent. Pure inquisitiveness. The child edged nearer. His mobile, unheeded, remained tucked away in his trousers. Leonard was acutely aware of the scrutiny he was under, the unspoken scrutiny of others curious about the reasons behind someone like this young person. He wouldn't deign to waste his precious moments on someone of his caliber. Leonard wished to retreat, To prevent the awkwardness, however, the boy's intense stare kept him rooted in place. "How do you identify yourself?" the youngster inquired. He responded, "Leonard." His words were scarcely audible. The boy gave a small affirmative nod, his forehead creasing in thought, as though his mind were actively working through it, significantly surpassing the present instant. "I am Baron," he stated plainly. A sense of humility prevailed. He didn't convey any arrogance or inflated sense of self-worth in his initial presentation. An unanticipated genuineness, the city's characteristic low thrum resumed. However, there was a noticeable shift in the nature of their interaction. A palpable tension hung in the air between them. Equivalent to a fleeting moment, this instant would give rise to something significantly more substantial. Leonard fidgeted, uncomfortable on the frigid concrete. Not certain what to say, Baron's arrival was a phenomenon unlike any other he had previously experienced. He was largely disregarded, met with averted eyes by the majority, or haphazardly flung coins his way utterly silently. However, there stood this youthful individual, going beyond mere cessation, but instead treating him with the respect of a peer. Baron lowered himself so that his gaze was aligned with Leonard's. Leonard was taken aback by the sudden movement. That action was unprecedented. "For how much time have you been present in this location?" Baron spoke in a composed and unambiguous manner. Leonard paused, his resolve wavering. He wasn't typically inclined to recount his experiences. The reason behind things was of no consequence to them, solely the sight of his suffering. However, Baron's manner had a way of putting people at ease. "Nearly 12 months have passed," Leonard confessed. "I became unemployed when the factory closed. My well-being subsequently deteriorated, struggled to afford housing costs." He hesitated, a knot of emotion catching in his throat. "Things have been declining steadily since then." Baron's focus sharpened, his gaze becoming more intense. Rather than making judgments, prioritize concentration. That expression was unfamiliar to Leonard, a blend of inquisitiveness and apprehension, like a teenager solving a jigsaw puzzle. Within his thoughts, Leonard sensed a palpable stillness hanging in the air. Emerging within the throng surrounding them, spectators murmured amongst themselves. A few temporarily halted their inquisitiveness, intrigued by the unexpected appearance of the youthful Trump family member positioned on the pavement, next to a person experiencing homelessness. Baron inquired concerning the matter of family. Leonard's expression hardened, and he declined with a shake of his head. "I've got very little of it left now. My parents are no longer with us. My sibling, it's been a while since we last connected." He let out a humorless laugh. "There's little further risk when everything has already been sacrificed." For a brief spell, Baron remained silent, considering Leonard's words with deliberation, maintaining uninterrupted eye contact. He retrieved his hand from his pocket. Leonard's heartbeat accelerated. He had made a request for $1. Singularly solitary, however, Baron's actions implied a contrasting notion. Upon withdrawing his hand, he found himself not in possession of a solitary dollar bill. However, a freshly printed $100 bill to view left Leonard stunned and struggling to comprehend it. "In that instance," Baron stated, reaching the bill out to him, "this scope needs to extend beyond just coffee." Leonard's gaze was fixed on the money, his expression betraying a profound shock. He was momentarily paralyzed. It wasn't solely the quantity. The very act itself conveyed the message. "Can you be serious, Leonard?" he finally questioned. His voice trembled. "What motivates such an action?" Baron dismissed the notion with a nonchalant shrug. Due to my capabilities, Leonard was rendered speechless by the brevity of his response. However, a reply was forestalled. Baron adjusted his position, moving slightly nearer. However, he interjected, his voice becoming more subdued. "This goes beyond mere financial considerations. Please make a commitment to me." "What's going on?" Leonard inquired, holding on to the bill tightly, as if it could disappear. Baron's demeanor took on a more solemn air. "Should I lend a hand today? It's crucial for you to take charge of your own well-being starting tomorrow." Agreement, a tightening sensation gripped Leonard's throat. The impact of the words resonated more profoundly than anticipated. After an eternity, it seemed he wasn't being simply offered a way out. He faced a formidable opposition. To extricate himself from the predicament he had found himself in, Leonard simply inclined his head, struggling to articulate his thoughts. The esteemed Baron remarked. Rising to one's feet again, his gaze swept across the assembled throng. His composure remained undisturbed by the spotlight. A blush crept up Leonard's face. As he observed individuals capturing the exchange through their mobile devices, he struggled to find the right words to express his appreciation. Flustered, or a mixture of both, Baron's hand descended into his pocket once more. Retrieving a pen and a miniature notepad, jotting down something hastily, he offered Leonard a fragmented sheet of paper. Make your way to that location first thing tomorrow. They'll offer assistance. Just mention Baron referred you. Leonard carefully unfurled the message. His fingers shook with a subtle tremor. It specified the location of a nearby refuge, and a resource hub he'd been made aware of yet had consistently been hindered by a mixture of pride and embarrassment from making the trip. I'll ensure your arrival is anticipated. Baron spoke with resolute conviction. Their surroundings felt imbued with subtle, moving energy. With Leonard's grip tightening on both the paper and the cash, it transcended mere compassion. It was a beacon of optimism. Delicate, a wavering luminescence emerged in a realm shrouded in perpetual night. An inexplicable feeling washed over Leonard, a sense that this was merely the first step in a much larger journey. Leonard fixed his gaze upon the crisp $100 note, and the message clutched within his grasp like something from another world. His thoughts surged. Torn between skepticism and guarded optimism, Baron lingered for a while before departing. However, he remained motionless, observing Leonard possessing a level of intensity that bordered on unsettling. His proposition transcended a simple act of charity. He was in a state of expectant anticipation. Maybe a recognition or a pledge. Leonard made a sound to clear his vocal cords. His speech trembling. What prompts your interest? My identity remains a mystery to you. Baron gave a slight inclination of his head. A barely perceptible smile graced his lips. Since every individual possesses a narrative, Leonard, your story simply hasn't been revealed yet. He stopped, his gaze sweeping over the throng starting to assemble. And to be frank, if I have the opportunity to make a positive impact, what reason would I have not to? Leonard was surprised. Over time, he'd encountered a multitude of unfulfilled promises. However, Baron's demeanor conveyed a sincerity that was palpable. Doubt persisted, nibbling at his resolve. I'm not expecting anything from you. Leonard spoke with newfound resolve in his voice. My time spent here has given me enough insight to understand individuals aren't inherently passive when it comes to offering assistance. Unselfishly, with no anticipation of reciprocity, Baron lowered himself to the ground once more. He met Leonard's eyes directly. I'm not anticipating any outcomes. However, I'm convinced that even minor deeds may have far-reaching consequences. He pointed towards a note Leonard was holding. That location is well-supplied career assistance initiatives guidance. No matter your requirements, my only request is your presence. Leonard's throat tightened, a sudden knot of emotion making it difficult to swallow. He took another look at the message. The meticulously penned address. He desperately hoped this wasn't a fabrication. However, prolonged frustration had made him resilient. What if achieving it proves impossible for me? What if I make a mistake? A subtle smile played on Baron's lips as he gently shook his head. Leonard makes mistakes, just like everyone else. However, cease and pursue, there's no other path to defeat. His utterances, though unassuming, carried a powerful impact. Leonard hadn't anticipated. For a fleeting instant, the city's clamor receded. Only the stillness surrounded him. The teenager spoke with unwavering certainty. The throng surrounding them had intensified. Their way was now illuminated by the direct aim of numerous phone cameras. A hushed voice spoke. Could it be Baron Trump? Leonard's eyes darted around, increasingly aware of the mounting interest directed at him. He wasn't accustomed to the glare of public attention. The intensity of all those gazes bore down on him, making him feel overwhelmed. Baron appeared unperturbed, seemingly unaffected. He appeared to flourish in high-pressure situations. His composed bearing in stark contrast to Leonard's feelings of discomfort. Let them be, Baron murmured quietly. Like Leonard's thoughts were laid bare, it's all about our connection at this moment. Nothing else is important. A wave of unexpected ease swept through Leonard. After an extended period, he wasn't experiencing a sense of invisibility. An eyewitness observed him, truly understood him, and took the time to hear him out. Okay, he conceded at last. His voice remained calm and unwavering. I'm coming, I'll be there. A gentleness appeared in Baron's countenance, a sincere grin emerging triumphantly. That's exactly what I was hoping for. He rose to his feet, wiping the dust from his knees. He looked out at the assembled spectators, and Leonard, his words gained volume and intensity. As though broadcasting to a wide audience, your inner reserves of strength are greater than you might imagine. Keep in mind that Leonard's eyelids fluttered open. Deeply moved by a blend of thankfulness and self-consciousness, he had a thought he wished to express. Not a single word could be uttered. He merely inclined his head in acknowledgement. He held the note with a desperate grip, as if it were his only hope. When Baron made his exit, a path spontaneously opened in the throng. Their murmurs escalating in volume, Leonard observed him vanish into the urban sprawl. His form dissolved into the throng. After a lengthy period, a spark of emotion ignited within Leonard. He believed his optimism had vanished, and upon rereading the note, it dawned on him. This marked the beginning of his journey to regain control of his life. The following day, Leonard found himself positioned before the designated location. Baron had bestowed upon him something unassuming, a residential structure constructed of brick, situated in a more tranquil Cleveland neighborhood. Its arrival was indicated by a basic sign, Center for Supportive Outreach, and hope a trickle of individuals continuously entered and exited, others hauling shopping bags. Even others shared in Leonard's palpable sense of unease. He kept the note tightly held within his grasp. His fingertips glided along the borders. As though to solidify the reality of the situation, the $100 note remained discreetly concealed. Securely ensconced within his coat, a fragment of his being yearned to preserve it. To maintain a spirit of generosity as evidence of yesterday's actuality, however, a distinct segment, the aspect of him awakened by Baron's utterance, hinted that the financial aspect was merely a surface-level concern that presented an opportunity for a fresh beginning. Inhaling deeply, Leonard crossed the threshold. He was instantly embraced by the building's comforting heat, in sharp juxtaposition to the frigid temperatures prevailing beyond. The woman manning the reception desk was middle-aged, possessing gentle eyes and an amiable grin, raised her gaze from her workstation. "What can I do for you right now?" Leonard paused, a moment of uncertainty passing over him before retrieving the note, and gracefully maneuvering along the countertop. Baron conveyed a message to me. They instructed me to meet here. Her gaze darted towards a sheet of paper. A glimmer of understanding lit up her expression, accompanied by a subtle smile. "Well, you must be Leonard, then. Your arrival was anticipated." She moved, beckoning him to keep up. "All right, shall we begin?" The subsequent hours melted away in a haze. Leonard had a consultation with a social services representative, who heard his tale with an open mind, crafting a strategy for his recovery. They provided him with a makeshift bed at their refuge, scheduled a visit with a physician to tackle his medical concerns, and furthermore, secured him a spot in a vocational training program. The intensity was staggering, yet it marked a significant turning point after years. Leon, he had the unsettling sensation that his life was being disassembled and then meticulously reassembled sometime later that night. He perched on the brink of his narrow bed within the makeshift dwelling, Leonard mentally revisited the occurrences of the preceding day. His thoughts dwelled on the unexpected generosity of an unknown individual, the gesture of assistance, the mere acknowledgement of presence. The whole experience seemed unreal. His mind revisited Barron's statements. Concerning the commitment he'd vowed to uphold for his own benefit, the path ahead was bound to be challenging. Yet a glimmer of hope ignited within Leonard, suggesting for the first time that this might actually be achievable. In the meantime, beyond the safety of the shelter, Barron's actions started to spread outwards like a wave, exceeded all their wildest expectations. Footage of their encounter, captured by someone present at the scene, spread rapidly throughout the internet. It rapidly went viral on social platforms. Please provide me with a text you'd like me to paraphrase with commendatory of the youthful Trump scions. Surprising an instance of kindness, the video depicted Barron in a kneeling position next to Leonard, presenting him with the funds and offering words of support that resonated deeply with a vast audience. Others deemed it a calculated act of promotion. Conversely, some maintained it showcased a truly uncommon level of empathy, holding a position of advantage irrespective of the ongoing discussions. It was evident the video conveyed a potent and unfiltered essence. Individuals from every stratum of society started making contact with Hope. The Outreach Resource Center provides aid and assistance through donations. Motivated by Barron's deeds, Leonard was completely unaware that his narrative had become a focal point for nationwide discussion. His attention was entirely consumed by the tasks immediately in front of him. His initial foray into the realm of therapy, completing employment forms and rediscovering faith in his own abilities. When Leonard settled into bed that evening, the burden of the previous year felt slightly lessened. In some distant place, the individual who, in his youth, had offered assistance was generating a lot of buzz. Yet Leonard remained centered on a singular objective: approach each day as a separate entity, and uphold the commitment he'd pledged toward the close of the week. Leonard observed the emergence of minor, yet distinct, alterations, both internally and in his external environment within the shelter's walls. Employees, he experienced a warmth and compassion he hadn't encountered in a long time. Their assistance extended beyond mere practical help, and a motivating boost, as well, serving as a gentle reminder that his narrative had yet to reach its conclusion. News of his travels had circulated discreetly. Amongst those seeking refuge, individuals who had been privately enduring hardship approached him, motivated by his courage to initiate action. If your capabilities extend to it, perhaps mine do as well. A fellow had offered Leonard a gesture of encouragement. Though unassuming in its simplicity, Leonard experienced a newfound and unexpected feeling of pride. Beyond the protection of the shelter, though Leonard's narrative had transformed, shedding its former silence. A recording of his encounter with Barron Trump went viral on social platforms, garnering millions of views. Within a short time frame, the media quickly disseminated the narrative. Analysts meticulously scrutinized every aspect, sparking lively discussions. The authenticity of Barron's conduct remains a question. Or engage in expressive actions viewed by a nationwide audience, express their opinions digitally. A tweet proclaimed the significance of purposeful privilege. Here's how to wield it for positive purposes. A different individual shared it's disheartening how uncommon displays of such compassion are. We're surprised, but we have to commend Barron for bringing this to light. There's a chance. Leonard gained knowledge regarding the concept of attention. Upon encountering a staff member within the shelter, demonstrated the video to him. Observing his own reflection on the display, Leonard was experiencing a confusing blend of feelings, with embarrassment at the forefront, appreciation, and a feeling he couldn't precisely define. He could hardly place the individual depicted in the recording. The vacant gaze, the slumped demeanor, it served as a stark illustration of his decline, and maybe the extent of his potential upward trajectory. In contrast, Barron remained tight-lipped regarding the escalating excitement. He declined all requests for interviews, remained silent in public, and disregarded the digital chatter for him. It wasn't a matter of enjoying the accolades. The focus centered on Leonard. Off-screen, the Barron, discreetly made certain the safety of the shelter secured significant financial contributions sufficient for program expansion, and extend assistance to a larger number of individuals similar to Leonard. The video ignited a wider trend. Citizens nationwide started disseminating their own gestures of compassion, using hashtags to label them comparable to a trending kindness campaign, and utilized the hashtag Pay It Forward movement. Community-based groups observed a surge in charitable contributions, and many eager volunteers came out in large numbers motivated by the elegance of Barron's action. Leonard's experiences began to have a more direct and intimate impact. One night, while he was relaxing in the shelter's shared living space, he encountered an individual whose appearance struck him as curiously reminiscent. Hesitantly, Leonard posed a question. Leonard strained his eyes, attempting to recognize the individual, and suddenly understanding dawned. He stated, "Paul," his words shook with emotion. He was a sibling of lesser age. The individual with whom communication had been absent for more than 10 years, their gazes locked, unwavering. The burden of their shared past loomed over them. I witnessed Paul's confession in the video. Settling down next to him, I was unaware of the severity of your situation. I regret not contacting you earlier." Leonard's head shook, his eyes struggling to hold back the rising tide of emotion. "You're not to blame. I certainly didn't exactly simplify the process of locating me." Paul gently rested his hand upon Leonard's shoulder. "Here I am. I intend to remain here." The gathering held a mixture of joy and sorrow, a poignant echo of past absence, but also encompassing potential for restoration. Leonard's journey toward recovery took another positive stride. Not solely his situation, however, his connections and his personal identity. With the passing of each week, Leonard's perspective on his narrative shifted, moving away from viewing it as a tragic tale, and serves as a powerful symbol of perseverance. Despite the considerable journey that lay before him, he embraced a newfound determination, inspired by the generosity of an unknown individual who had been exceptionally generous towards him. Extending beyond mere financial aid, he had instilled in him a sense of optimism,